Well, good afternoon. Uh, you, all you need to know about John Duggan is that he portrayed a 130 cannibalistic when he was 20 years old, and he managed to create iconic images in the history of horror. You throw in the fact that he, without a single word of dialogue, and it becomes more amazing that we're here 46 years later and we're about that before. So, John, welcome to second Cyber Mr. Cyber Con. Nice to have
Hey,
you.
oh, it's good to be here.
Hey, John, when I started research for the panel, I saw that you were in Brazil. So I thought, well, this is going to be a great place to start the interview. This guy's from an exotic location. Then I saw it was from Brazil. So
You know,
is that
one of my best friends, one of the first guys I met in theater school in Chicago. We got to talk and we hit it off right away. He said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Brazil." He goes, "Yeah, I'm from Crete." I said, "Hey, Brazil, Indiana." He goes, "Crete, Illinois."
is that where you were? Is that where you were raised?
Yeah, in Brazil, Indiana. I left there at
Okay.
18, and I went to
So
Chicago, and then
is that small town,
I left.
John? Small
Yeah, it's about.
Indiana town?
I think it's got. Yeah, it's gotten smaller now. I think it was like a boom town of 8,000 people when I lived there. I think it's about
Oh,
7,000 now. There's nothing for young people graduate high school and just leave to make a living.
oh
The
yeah.
mines are
Yeah.
played out and all that shit.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Um, when I was also doing the research, I looked up a couple of different sites. One had your age as 67 and one had your age as 80. Do you care to
No,
clear
no,
that up today?
I'm 67 years old. There's another.
Yes.
There's another John Duggan that he played like a newsboy in some film before I was even born. You know.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and
Okay.
he's on IMDb. When I first started dating my wife, her mom looked me up and said, "You realize this guy is 76 years old?"
Okay. That's, um, so, were you close to the same age? I'm older than you are, but we're close to the same age. Were you a monster kid growing up? Did you have an interest in films, or did you do the
Oh, well,
small?
yeah, a small town, and we had a nice little, movie theater, and
Mhm.
a Saturday matinee when I was a kid was always a double feature of horror movies.
Yeah.
For like 50 cents or fucking 75 cents or something. You know, and we'd all be lined up. I still remember being lined up, waiting to get in. At like noon on Saturday, and spend the whole afternoon at the movie theater. And I still remember
Yeah.
leaning against the brick wall, waiting for them to open the doors, and your hair would get stuck in the bricks. So I still remember this. When they finally opened, the door to let you in, you'd lift your head up and it'd pull hair out of the back of your head.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. The
Is That's
things,
a weird memory to have, isn't it?
well, it's a kid's memory. That's one of those nostalgic
Yeah.
things that sticks with you for all of your life. And did you first get the bug? When did you get that desire to be an actor?
Uh, when I was in high school, I couldn't decide what I wanted to do with my life. I was just really, I had no idea. You know, And I didn't really want to go to college. I was tired of just school.
Yeah.
And I had no interest at all in mathematics. And I liked English literature, and I liked U.S. history. Um, but I couldn't see, being a teacher. I just didn't know what I wanted to do, and I got
Yeah.
involved my sophomore year in the theater club, the drama club, because they were doing a period play, and they could never get boys to
Oh,
audition, to be in
sure.
their plays. So girls always had to play boys' parts and stuff. So the drama teacher, speech and drama teacher, and head of the theater club put out the word, and she got permission, and this was in the 60s, and there were very strict dress codes and all that stuff. And she got permission from the principal, and she put out the word that any boy who got cast in this play wouldn't have to get a haircut for like 6 weeks.
Oh,
And they had the biggest turnout of boys for any audition like ever.
oh, that's funny.
Yeah, and I auditioned. I ended up getting the lead role.
Oh, gosh.
And I'll tell you what, I was placed on stage waiting. I was in the first scene, and I was waiting and I was wearing tights and a little ducket thing, or what do they call that? You know, and boots. And the curtain came up, and the lights hit me, and I was hooked right then. Right then and there, I was like, "That's it. I know what I want to do." You know,
Yeah, that's terrific.
I was sold.
I,
It just,
I
I was
bet
it.
that was your calling. That you knew it right
I
then.
realized I'd found what I wanted to do, and I'd always been kind of a performer,
Yeah,
kind of, class clown, and that sort of thing.
yeah,
So
yeah. Hey, when you were a student at the Goodman uh, at the Art Institute of Chicago, you were approached about playing Grandpa
yeah,
screenwriter Kim Hinkle. How did that come
yeah.
about? Did he see you? Did he see you across the quad or something and say,
No, no.
"Hey,
He was married.
113-year-old"?
No, 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 no. He was married to my sister.
Oh, well, I missed that part of the story. That's kind of an important part of the story.
Well, yeah, nobody
Okay.
knows until they ask me. I always sometimes I'll weave a huge yarn about it, and say they read
Yeah.
a review of me in the Chicago Tribune, and they just had to know, And then I did two screen tests and all, but no, it was just my brother-in-law.
Okay. Well, that's a lot less interesting story, but
Yeah, I know.
that's good. That's good. Uh, I did hear, or I did hear. I watched some of your stuff on the internet, and I heard you talking about having to go Austin like 3 weeks early to do like the makeup preparation.
Well, yeah, they had somebody. They had to design and create my makeup. So I was there like about 3 weeks before I shot my first scene, but I was out at the set almost every day, and I worked as a production assistant, kind of a grip and a gopher kind of person. I drove a pickup truck around and picked up props and shit. I ran down to the convenience store for Toby whenever he got his hair up his ass for a Snappy Tom. Hey, John, run down to the U Totem and get me a Snappy Tom. You know, you Totem, and the nearest convenience store was like 5 miles away. But Toby had to have a
Oh
Snappy
gosh.
Tom. It was like a tomato juice with like green chilies in it or some shit.
Yeah. Had a little had a little snap to it, I take it.
Yeah.
Hey, the makeup in that movie for Grandpa is so memorable and striking that I don't think there's a fan of horror
It's
films.
awful.
I say when you say Grandpa, Texas Chainsaw Massacre doesn't have that in his mind right away. So was that difficult to go through? Was the process
Oh,
of putting on
oh
the
yeah,
makeup?
it was terrible. Uh,
Mhm.
well, first off, you have to go through that, the they have to take a mold of your face,
Mhm. Yeah.
and that's not pleasant. And I've had it done several times now. I had a whole head. I've had a whole head cast on twice since then. Which,
Yeah.
boy, that's really a rocking good time, you know. But particularly the taking it off, you bent over while they're yanking on it, you know. But so that's an unpleasant experience. And then it took them the first time I was in makeup or chainsaw, it took them 7 hours to put it on.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, and then we shot for about 10, maybe 10 hours that day, 10 or 12.
Wow.
The second time they got it down to about 5 hours, but we shot for 24 straight fucking hours.
Jeez.
The, yeah, the day that we did the dinner party and the hammer in the head and the finger sucking scene and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So so
Those are
I
pretty
was in
memorable.
I was in makeup from the time I sat down. I mean, I worked from the time I sat down in the makeup chair until I got the fuck out of there. Actually got my makeup off. It was probably 30 hours. It took them a good deal of time to take it off. I remember Dottie Pearl, the late, great Dottie Pearl. She passed away a few years ago. She was a really talented and successful woman.
Mm.
Um, yeah, a lot of people went on to be quite successful out of that. But
Yeah.
um, she was the cinematographer, Daniel Pearl's wife.
Mhm.
But she was taking it off, and they had I had a skull cap on, and they had taped it down around the edges. And it had been on for so long, she was pulling it off my neck, and it was really stuck down, and it was pulling all the hair off the back of my neck when she
Oh,
pulled on it.
shoot.
And I was like, "Oh God, oh, fuck, oh shit!" And she said, "John, I hate to torture you like this. Can you just, bite the bullet and let me yank it off?" I said, "Fucking do it." Do it, baby.
Yeah.
I'm dying here. And she just yanked that whole piece of fucking adhesive tape off. It was like, whoa!
Oh my God. Well,
And
I
then
would imagine.
when they got it off of me, uh, woo, my wife just got out of the shower. I could see her through the window. Hi, baby. Looking good. Woo. God, she still does it for me. Um,
Ah,
man,
you're
I really should turn this around, but I won't. Um,
oh, whoa, whoa.
but
That would be a
look, she
me.
just shut the door on the bathroom. Uh,
Okay. Okay. Thank God.
uh, but but
Um,
when they finally got all the makeup off, everybody, Kim Henkel, Toby Hooper, and Dottie Pearl were all there, and they all looked down at me, and from my perspective, almost looked like in my memory, it was almost like a really wide, like a fisheye lens effect, because they all went, "Are you all right?" I said, "Why?"
Jeez.
And Dottie held up a mirror, and I looked like the only way I can describe it is I looked like. Have you ever seen a bird egg when it fell and hit the sidewalk and the embryo comes out of it? and you can see all the veins
Yes.
through its skin and everything. I looked like a
Yeah.
bird embryo. You could see
Oh my God.
all my vascular, you could see my entire vascular system underneath my skin. It was
Jeez.
so fucking creepy. Yeah, it was
Wow.
awful. And
Wow.
I got back to my apartment. They got me back to my apartment. I slept for about 22 hours.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I, I guess in that case, it did help to be 20 years old because if you had been any
Oh well,
older,
hell, I couldn't do that now to kill me. I
no, no, that's what I'm talking about.
Hi,
Yeah,
Cobb. Hi,
absolutely.
John Scott. Hi, John.
Hey, John. John has
Hey, I guess,
a comment.
yeah, I guess I did my job. I haunted him.
You've haunted a lot for a long time. Hey, talking about haunting, what was like? You talked about the makeup process. Was I've heard that it was like hot. It was uncomfortable. The house you shot
Oh
in
yeah,
had a lot of
oh, it was
rotting
terrible.
animal carcass in it, so you had to kind of deal
Yeah,
with the smell. And what was that like? What was that experience like?
awful. It was fucking awful. It was great because I was 20 years old. I was a 20-year-old actor and I was making a fucking movie.
Yeah,
So it's like this
yeah,
is so cool.
yeah,
But it was the hardest thing. The hardest day of work I've ever had was that second day on the shooting. Um, because it was just relentless. It never let up. And in retrospect, it was extremely hot, because we had the windows all, that we had no ventilation. There
hmm,
was no air conditioning in that house. It was a, fucking 100-year-old German farmhouse in Texas Hill Country. And, there wasn't any ventilation because we all had the windows all shut and blacked out so we could light it because we
yeah,
were shooting around the clock in there.
right,
So they were blacked out and sealed shut, and we had one box fan, one old box fan. I don't know where they found this fucking thing, but it was like over in the corner with like a 3 foot raggedy cord on it. Just kind of went chook, 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 that they would plug in between takes. Okay, cool the lights, turn on the fan. Chook, 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 chook. And here
oh my gosh,
Gunner and I are in latex fucking makeup.
uh,
He could take his off, but they wouldn't let him take it off unless we were going to break for more than 15 or 20 minutes. So
yeah,
he really never got to take it off because they always said, no, it's only going to be about 10 minutes. 45 minutes later, we're still relighting. But so it was the ambient temperature. I mean, the temperature outside was probably 98 degrees. So, and let's see, we had a 5, probably a couple of deuces, an ace, some inky and dinkies and shit like that. So we probably had about 10,000 watts of tungsten up
yeah,
blasting on us. And those old, now it's all like, I don't know, what is it, LED or LCD or something to put off
yeah,
no heat at all.
yeah,
But those things, I mean, they put off a lot of heat.
yeah.
So the temperature in there was probably well over 100 degrees, well over 100 degrees.
Wow,
And then we had
wow,
actually human and animal bones in there, chicken feathers, animal skins, and
right,
food out on the table. Raw pork and shit. We had head cheese and pork sausage and shit like that was all sort of starting to slowly. It wasn't cooking; it was just kind of decomposing.
yeah,
So it wasn't hot enough to cook it, just hot enough to make it fucking rotten. So and everybody and all the actors stunk and the whole crew stunk. So the smell was just fucking unbelievable. Gunner,
gosh,
I'll tell you what, I have never smelled BO like Gunner had. For one thing, he was a very big man. And
yeah,
somebody
huge.
somebody not thinking, not excuse me, I have terrible hay fever.
No,
Somebody
it's okay. Go ahead.
somebody not thoroughly thinking this through, probably Dottie Pearl, or had one shirt for Gunner that she had hand dyed, in a sink in her apartment in Austin with a box of Rit dye,
Oh,
and she
wow.
couldn't wash it. She couldn't wash it because she was afraid that it would fade in the color. Everybody was afraid the color wouldn't match, so he had to wear the whole fucking
Oh, wow.
shirt for like 6 weeks of shooting in Texas. And man, I have never smelled anything like that. It didn't smell like human BO. It was like
Okay.
Martian or Venusian BO or something. It was like off
Well,
planet BO.
maybe it enhanced his performance. Maybe that was,
Oh, I think it enhanced everybody. If you look at that scene, that climactic scene, I think it's the climax of the film, because Sally's
yeah,
escape and,
right.
um, watch that scene. It took us 20 something hours to shoot it. And Toby shot his film footage ratio to what got onto the screen was huge. He would shoot. He'd make us do the entire scene. Stacy, now she showed me her butt.
Oh.
She always does this. She's a trick,
does,
man. I love her so much.
does she want to come in and say hi?
Stacy, want to come say hi? No. No. He said no. Um, uh, um, but he would shoot instead of taking a couple masters, one from one end of the table, one from the other end of the table, one from one, maybe four masters, one from one side, one from the other side. Then doing just pieces of two shots and close up and everything. When we got that, when we got to the two shots, the close ups and all that stuff, he wanted us to do this whole scene over again. Even though he was
Wow.
shooting a close up, we had to do the whole scene. So he was just burning film
Wow.
like crazy. And it took us a long time. And the lighting was tough. The lighting setup was tough. But
Yeah.
um, Daniel Pearl is just a master, lighter. I mean, he's
Yeah.
incredible. He's an
Well,
incredible cinematographer.
the
Go ahead.
film
What?
is the film is beautifully shot. I mean, first of
Yeah.
all, when I saw the film for the first time, I kind of came late to the party because I've been a horror fan all my life, but I didn't see it until I was in my 30s. And I was not
Well, you
expecting it.
fucking mope.
I know, really. I know what I am. But to be called a fucking mope by you, John, is for the rest of my life. But I watched it and I thought this is as close to an art film as a horror film that I've ever seen. I mean,
Very much so.
this is an incredible film. Not just a horror film. This is an incredible film. So
Well, the big
yeah,
four, the big four, you got Kim Henkel writing it, Toby directing it, Daniel as a cinematographer, and Robert Burns, very important part, as the art director and production
yeah,
designer. It was a perfect storm. It just clicked. And then all the actors, we were all actors. It wasn't, getting your next door neighbor slapping some,
mhm,
lipstick on their nose or some
right,
shit, and getting their dog to put a pair of horns on and shooting in the backyard.
yeah, yeah,
It was all taken very seriously. So they didn't just get their friends to act in it. They got actors
right,
to act in it. They auditioned people and all that shit.
right.
Except, of course, me. But I was an actor. I was hell, I'd studied Shakespeare and everything.
Sure,
So,
sure. Well,
uh,
I was gonna ask you about your performance too, because here you are, you're playing 103 grandfather. You have no dialogue, but the performance to me is striking. I'm not, you know, just just blowing smoke up your ass. It really a
well,
striking performance because you convey a lot without any dialogue. And I wanted to ask you, what was that direction from Toby?
uh,
Was it
no,
improv
I
by
got no, no.
you?
Actually, Toby didn't really do a lot of directing of actors. He wasn't really heavily engaged with the actors. He was really more on the camera and lighting and composition and dolly moves and the whole camera, the whole filmy aspect of it.
All the technical, yeah,
And
all
he
the
he
technical stuff.
trusted he trusted the actors, I think, to do their job. And I just did a thing yesterday with the whole cast, a Zoom thing, and Terry was talking about this, and she said that the one time she was talking about seeing that the one time that Toby actually engaged with her, and that he
Hmm.
really hadn't for any of the rest of the film. And Toby never really said much to me either, but Kim would huddle together with the cast, and he was also constantly writing. He had a clipboard with like a legal pad on it and a pencil, and he was
Yeah.
constantly writing and writing lines and tearing them off and handing them to people and say, try it this way, and this is what we want to do here. So he was really kind of a co-director on the thing, and I
Hmm.
think he might have co-directed credit. I don't know, but I can't remember what the question was. Oh, Kim had told me. I was told, for one thing, don't like when I'm first seen, don't move, just be completely limp. And so when they bring me down the stairs in that chair, in my
Yeah.
rocking chair, we had to take like 4 or 5 takes because I kept sliding out of the chair because uh,
Wow. Completely limp.
Ed, who was on the bottom, was going faster than Gunner, who was on top, could go. So my chair would slant and I'd slide out of it.
Oh,
And Ed
wow.
would try to stuff me back in there, and nobody would cut, and finally somebody would start laughing and we'd have to do it again. And until Gunner threatened me. He leaned over in my ear and said, Duggan,
Huh.
he was one of the only people who could ever pronounce my name correctly because his name was tough too.
Yeah.
It's not Gunner and it's not Gunner, it's Gunner. And mine isn't Dugan and it's not Duggan, it's Duggan. But you have to be Irish or Icelandic to understand that. But
Yeah.
he said,
Yeah.
Duggan, if you don't stay in this fucking chair, I'm gonna rip your fucking head off. And he was a Gunner was a really gentle man until he got pissed, and then he was not. He was fucking
Wow.
scary when he was ticked off. And I was like, yeah, Gun, no, yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
But
sure.
I was told to just be, you're just you're completely limp. And
Mhm.
then when it came to the finger sucking thing, uh,
Yeah, that's almost babyish, like a
yeah, well,
baby sucking on a bottle.
Kim said, I see Grandpa is an embryonic old man.
Mm.
When people get so old, they start reversing and going back to being a baby, to being a child again. Their
Yeah.
hair, they become hairless, they become helpless, they become toothless. And he said, have you ever seen a newborn baby nurse? And I said, yes. And
Oh,
my oldest sister my oldest sister at that point had 3 children, and she breastfed all of them. So I'd seen, and my mother breastfed me and my younger brother, but he was only a year younger than me, so I really don't remember that. But I was familiar with how, what a nursing child is like. And he goes, how when the milk starts coming in, they get a little excited and their hands and their feet start
Mm,
going and their whole body kind of gets into it. I said, Kim, you say no more. I know exactly what you're talking about. So
yes,
that's,
yes.
so that's what I
That is
did.
that's one of the funniest scenes in the whole movie. Is when Grandpa's hands and his arms and his legs acting
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
slurping and the sucking of the blood. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
incredible.
No,
Uh,
it was a note that Kim gave me, and I got it right away. I latched onto it. But as long as we're on that subject, a few years ago, about maybe 2 years before Gunn died, we were at a con together, sitting next to each other, and I talked about how people sometimes give me shit about, oh, that wasn't acting. You just slapped some makeup on and you didn't even do anything.
yeah.
And he understood. I said, I just sometimes it just pissed me off so much. And he said, I was sitting next to the late great my old friend Stuart Gordon from Chicago, the artistic director of the Organic
Mhm.
Theater, and of course much later, a horror film director.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
Well,
and
yeah.
he said he'd been talking to Stuart Gordon at one point. They were together at a convention, and he brought me up, and Stuart brought up my performance, and they talked about the fact I had no dialogue, but how great it was. And Stuart, who had seen probably every play I'd ever done in Chicago, said John Duggan has always been a marvelous physical actor. And
Hmm.
when Gunnar told me that, my heart just filled with
I
pride.
bet.
You
I
know,
bet. Well, like I said in the introduction, to create a character like that will remember almost 50 years after the film has come out, makes this indelible mark. That has to be so satisfying to you as an actor, because a lot of actors that are successful actors that never have that kind of impact. So I think it's a real tribute to your acting ability that you
oh,
created that.
thank
And
you.
well,
It's
no,
usually middle-aged women that were like young the first time I saw it, and they say exactly, almost word for word, the same thing when
oh,
they
really?
meet me. They
Uh,
go, "You son of a bitch! You scared the shit out of me when I was a little girl." And
uh,
I think, right, every little girl has a creepy old uncle or some shit in their family
yeah. Oh,
who
yeah.
they see
Yeah.
who they see once or twice a year at Thanksgiving or Christmas or something. Where it's like,
That's right.
come sit on my lap, honey. You know, and they smell like
Let
beer.
me suck your
They,
blood.
yeah, they smell like beer and cigars. And they say, "You want a horsey ride?" So,
Hey, John.
yeah,
John, you play a role now. You played Grandpa Sawyer in the original, and then 40 years later, you get the call and you play it
yeah,
in Texas Chainsaw 3D. And my question
yeah.
to you is, are you aging into the part? So in like 50 more years, are
I
you
hope
gonna
so.
play it without makeup? Because no, what was that experience like though to come back after 40 years?
Oh God, it was wonderful. I got Kim Henkel called out of the blue when I was living in Louisville, Kentucky, he called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, John, somebody just bought the rights to." My hair is just fucking out of control, man. uh,
That's all right.
I haven't had it
Hey.
cut since I haven't had it cut since January. So well, I don't want to. I'm not comfortable with being this close to some redneck girl with a GED for 45 minutes because I live way out in the fucking country, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I can tell you. Hey, the surroundings look beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm just looking over your shoulder, and it looks great.
But what was I saying? Oh,
Well, about
uh,
years later.
oh, so yeah. Sorry. Kim Henkel calls and said, "Hey, John, somebody bought the rights to Chainsaw, and they're going to make another movie, and they wanted to know your contact information. I was wanting to know if I could give it out. It could be a cameo in it for you or something." I said, "Yeah, shit, yeah, you know." And about 3 hours later, Carl Mazzacone from Lionsgate. Is it Lionsgate? Yeah. Executive producer from Lionsgate calls me and says, "John, this is Carl Mazzacone from Lionsgate. I'm doing a new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, and I was wanting to know if you'd do us the honor of reprising your role as Grandpa in our film."
Wow.
And I said, "Are you shitting me? I've been waiting 39 fucking years for this phone call."
Oh
And
man.
he laughed, and he made me tell that story to a bunch of investors in New York out on that on location one day. I came walking out of my trailer to smoke a cigarette, and he was out there with a couple suits. Goes,
Oh
"John,
wow.
John, come here, tell him that story."
Oh my gosh. Hey,
Yeah.
well, John, the time has flown by. I'm gonna have to wrap it
Oh,
up here in a
oh,
second,
damn.
but I wish I could go have a beer with you.
Oh, yeah, shit.
You're this great guy,
We should do that.
and
Where are you, man? Where are you? Where are you?
I'm actually in Oakdale, California. So you're in Texas.
Oakland?
No,
Oakland, California?
it's Oakdale, but California.
Oakdale.
Oakdale, yeah, Valley there around Stockton, Modesto, Sacramento,
Oh, hell yeah.
general area.
I used to live in Concord.
Oh, okay, not far
Yeah,
away. No, that's
not
70, 80
far from
miles away.
Stockton. Yeah. I
Not
worked in
not
San
far.
Francisco. I couldn't afford to live in San Francisco. I took the BART in every day.
Oh, okay. Well, John,
Yeah.
if we're wherever sound, because I'm going to be away, we're going for a beer. Does that sound all right?
Absolutely.
If we're ever in the same town? Okay.
Yeah, we'll
Thank you
do
so
that.
much for doing this
But
today.
I have to warn you, man. There's no such thing as one beer
Oh,
in my vocabulary.
John, that's understood. I knew that. All right,
Okay.
buddy. So much.
You have
So
a good
nice
one,
to
man.
meet you. You
Nice
too. Really
nice to meet you,
appreciate it.
man. Yeah.
Nice to meet you too.
Uh-huh.